Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is Joe and Jay Outspoken. I'm Jay, and
I'm Joe.
Yep, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. By elimination, that would make me Joe.
That's right. Yeah, we have not added a third new member named And yet. So
Yeah, no.
If you're new here, make sure you click on that like button and subscribe to our channel so you can get all of our updates and all that kind of good stuff. You can also check us out at linktree/Joe and Jay Outspoken. Yeah, there you go. All right. So what are we going over today, Joe?
Well, we're going to be, watching all those social, and I'm sure you've seen, I know we're busy, but sometimes we have that little moment where we kind of pop onto social media and you see all these crazy things, right? You see all these, you've seen those, I think we've talked about this before, the guys that go out there and do interviews out in the street.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And there's so many, questions about, hey, do we need men or blah, blah, blah. And of course, women just obliterate men. They're
Right.
just like, we don't need them, blah, blah, blah.
They're useless.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly we're in a new era that we're talking right now about. And what we're going to talk about today is feminism today.
Yeah.
And where it stands versus where it was, back in the early 1800s, 1900s.
Yeah.
How much it's changed and really what led us to where we're at today. So hold on to your seats.
Here we go.
Take them aprons off. Get out of the kitchen for about 20 minutes. We're going to be talking about some feminism.
Oh, boy. This one's going to get us beat up real good.
Don't hate me. Don't hate me.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. Here we go. We're going on our new subject about feminism today.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about feminism, and you're probably out there wondering, like, what are two dudes going to be talking about feminism?
Yeah. What right do you guys have to talk about women?
Well, here's the thing. Being that we're the opposite sex, we're the ones that are always dealing with the opposite sex, right? And I just
Valid.
And it's not that we're talking about you ladies. We love you ladies. You're always welcome on our show. But I think the biggest thing is just how bad it's changed. How the views out there are so just ridiculously skewed that people don't understand what feminism, what it really started, what it was, and where is it at today.
Right.
Like, I think they lost the meaning behind it. I think feminism was a movement, right? And the movement stopped because they got what they needed. They wanted to vote. Right, that was the biggest thing, is voting. They wanted jobs, right, which they got during the World War II. Most of the women doing all the manual labor.
So can we pause on the whole voting thing for a second? So the origination of the feminist movement, the date that you'll see is like 1848, being very specific. So call it in the 1850s at some point is when the feminist movement basically got its roots and started going and everything.
It was a convention or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is why weren't women allowed to vote in the first place? Does anybody know that? Well,
I'm going to throw a stab at it. I'm probably wrong, but this is just me. So don't hate Jay for my response. But I think because and again, this is just my hypothesis. I'm probably not correct, but I think because women are very emotional, and they're voting more for like popularity than they are for like causes. You know what I mean?
And that, so yes, so that is correct. Now, yeah, the number one reason though.
Thank you, India High School.
So the number one reason that at the time that men were the only ones that would vote was because men were heads of the household. So even today, when you do taxes and stuff like that,
head of household
is something that is claimed, right? So not to say that men were better or anything like that, but here's a big key factor. So for anybody listening to this, please understand, we're not saying that women shouldn't vote or anything like that. What we're saying is that,
are we though? Just kidding.
Well, we'll go into some more stats after that and after this in a second and show you why we're where we are politically today because of the women's movement, basically. But one of the biggest things back then was the man was the head of the household. Mm-hmm. What was another thing that only men could do at that time? It was go off to war and fight wars. Mm-hmm. And who decided when the war was going to start? Not a bunch of men.
No.
It might have been men in high-powered places that, so you're going to vote in a guy, right? Another man that is going to send your man off to war. And just like Joe said earlier, typically females had a different perspective on being nurturing and things like that. So if the political opponent,
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. No, but if the political opponent had some kind of, softness to him. So just a little sidebar here with what's going on today. If you were to break up the average voting between only men and women, not races, nothing else in the country, just men and women would almost overwhelmingly vote all Democrat, and men would vote more Republican. Men would be split a little bit more down the middle, where women are definitely left leaning when it comes to social issues and things like that. So it really shows you right away that there's, there would always be if women.
But I think also, Jay, that because of that they wear their emotions on their sleeves, that they're so, and that's great because we get that from our moms, right? We the moms are always there. And I think because of that, they are so easily manipulated. Not that men aren't.
Right.
But mostly because it's by women. But anyway, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
but they're easily influenced. I think that's a better word than manipulated.
Influence, yeah.
They're easily influenced by just, all you got to do, it's happening today. They still do it today, right? They cater these commercials, these politicians to the black community, to the Mexican community or Hispanic community or, Latin communities or whatever you guys want to identify as, X or whatever.
Stop it.
But, they cater to that in hopes that they're going to impact that vote, right?
Right.
So that's what they were doing back then because they knew women, that all they had to say is like, hey, do you guys really want to see your men go off to war? We'll stop it, vote for me and blah, blah, blah.
And then that's the guy that ends up sending them off to war because,
Exactly.
so yeah, that was the really big case for it back then. One is that there wasn't this something that the feminist movement created was women empowerment, women having their own thing. We've talked about this before. So ladies have, a great job and they go out there in the workforce and they're crushing it. They're making a couple $100,000 a year or whatever. What if they're single and somebody questions them and says, hey, are you going to get married and have kids? What's one of the first things they say? I don't need a man.
Yeah.
I got my own stuff. I do my own stuff. Now, if a woman is to get with a man, what is expected? Well, that he makes a good amount of change, right? A woman's not going to get with a broke guy if she makes a ton of money. So women were overwhelmingly all married, right? Mm-hmm. They had children and took care of the household and everything. And
they were housewives. You could say it. They were housewives.
Right. And
nothing wrong with that. My mom was a housewife. She worked too. But,
and that's what really built not just this country, but many, modern societies that have flourished.
Yeah,
were built by
this country. This country was definitely built by that.
Yeah, absolutely. By women that were at home that raised strong, great children that would, reciprocate that on down the line. And men went off to work and to war and all those kind of things. So it was assumed that when the voting was going to happen, that your household was going to vote the same.
Yeah.
And again, stepping back to the man was quote unquote head of household. If you both if she was like, well, I don't know about this candidate. Why don't we vote for the other one? Because, they would discuss that. And typically it would go in, if there was a complete argument, it would go in the man's direction. The thing is is that the idea was that a household, a man and a woman and their kids, are all going to vote one way. Why are you just going to split that vote down the middle and just, so instead of having 1 million votes, you got 2 million votes. It's the exact same outcome as it would have been, right? Because you're just splitting a vote down the middle.
Right.
So it didn't make any sense. Once the feminist movement kicked in, it was like, don't vote the way men do because they're voting against you. They want to oppress you and all this kind of stuff.
And I think you're right, because especially in the household, you know, it wasn't a, I think the way, but we're looking at two different times, right? We're taking it back in the early, or in the late 1800s, early 1900s, we're talking about. And women were very different as compared to today, right? A lot of women of today, or a lot of feminists of today, would call them weak, you know, or
and I think those women back then were 1,000 times stronger than women are today.
Well, yeah, because, you know, raising kids is not an easy task. I mean, I couldn't do it. But here's the thing.
Well, they didn't have, think about this, they didn't have Midol. They didn't have throwaway, you know, stuff for that time in the month. They didn't have all that kind of stuff.
But that's
and they were not allowed, they weren't allowed to have, you know, emotions during that time of month and stuff like that, right?
But here's the biggest thing, though, is that the women wholeheartedly depended on the man for whatever she needed.
Right.
So, like, financially, she didn't have to worry. All she knew is she's going to the grocery store. She's going to grab the stuff she needs. She's going to come home. She doesn't worry, like, about the money because he's making the money, right? All her concern was the kids and her husband, right? So she assumed, under those bases, she assumed he knows what's best for her family. Thus the vote. Right? He's going to vote because he knows what's best for our family. Mm-hmm. He's the one out there in society working. He knows what laws this president or nominee is going to bring and not bring, or whatever the case is. So they relied on her husband.
Right.
They relied on their husband because he has brought them forward for such a long time already that he's going to continue doing that by his decisions.
And, and another part of that is that he was out in the world working, whether it was in a field, right, or if it was in an office somewhere, if you're in New York City or wherever you're at, you have a little bit more influence out there, right? You talk to other men or other people that understand the political system. So your vote is going to have more to do with what's physically going on today, right? Again, like Joe said earlier, there's a lot of people now. And regardless, I'm not going to pick a side on this. People vote based on a popularity contest, not what's best for the country or you know, maybe even what's best for them. They look at it as, oh, this might be good for me. I'm going to get free schooling. Well, that's not good for you.
Nothing is free. Someone's paying for it. And it's not the government. I'll tell you that right now.
Right. And you're going to pay for it somewhere. You know, I love it when, you know, in our state, we have really low property taxes, right? Mm-hmm. So where I came from before had extremely high property taxes, but we have sales tax and stuff. I see people come from other states and they're like, oh, well, I don't understand. We don't have any sales tax. How much is your property tax? Oh, our property tax is really rough. Yeah. So the government's going to get
road tax over there. They're going to gas tax. It's ridiculous.
They're going to get their money from you somewhere. All right. Yeah. If they lower it on this place, they're going to raise it somewhere else. And the thing is, you know, jacking around with all that stuff just makes everything a whole mess. So,
yeah. Well, so now coming forward a little bit, now we're talking about feminism today, right? So there's been a big change in how feminism started, the reason it started, and where it's at now. And it's kind of crazy, right? Because most feminists are those redheaded or blue hair liberals out there.
Yeah.
Who,
see, there you go.
that are just screaming about, you know, equality on something that, you know, or fairness and just so many things that, like, if you look back, you're like, what is it that men have that women can't have? There's nothing, absolutely nothing. They could if they want to go into a trade, they can. All they got to do is learn the trade.
Absolutely.
Right? If they want to be, there's female attorneys, female doctors, female cops, female judges. There's females everywhere. Right now, let's start talking a little bit about feminism. Right? They want equality, but is things ever equal? No.
Well, no.
Things are never equal. No. Right? No. So now we're going to talk about pay, right? So
I believe there's more of a, if we were to talk about whether it was men versus women.
We'd kick their ass every day. Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
Depending on, your color, your religion, all these kind of things. In my opinion, the thing that there's the most separation on would be a class of how much money you have. So people that have more political or money influence are always going to have more than people that don't have as much money or political influence. So, as a, you're going to tell me that somebody like a Hillary Clinton in the world doesn't have. I thought we weren't never supposed to say that name. You're going to tell me that she doesn't have a ton. She can't walk in somewhere and just have a ton of Michelle Obama. These people. And
Michael.
Yeah. God, we're going to get kicked off. That's
just kidding. Just kidding.
That lady is black and super powerful and has a ton of money. Obviously, her husband was, and she still claims oppression. So this is this is one of these things that has been just like ingrained in people to believe that And right now, if you disagree with what we're saying, that's totally cool. So tell me who the worst people in the world are, and if you say white males, then it would seem that
you're part of the problem. I don't even want to get into that. That's a whole different subject, man. That's crazy. Anyway, but the feminisms, though, let's talk about. They are today's feminism is not about feminism. It's about anti-male. Is what it is.
That's correct. Yeah,
they just they hate men. There has nothing to do with them being opportunity or whatnot. So in jobs, for example. And I don't blame them. I don't want to see a woman out there working the sewer lines. I don't want to see a woman on an oil rig.
They can if they want. But,
but I don't want to see them as a male, right? That's like a man job. But you also have to consider.
Because we think only men can do it, because we respect women to where they shouldn't have to do that kind of nonsense.
Do you know why women weren't allowed to on the battlefield? So women weren't allowed on the battlefield for a reason. The reason was a man could see another man get shot, and he'll continue to fight. Right. A man can't see a woman get hurt or injured or shot, because then emotions come in.
Right. He'll stop.
He's gonna and then he's gonna get put into a position where he's gonna be endangered, his squad or his platoon or whatever the case is. That is the reason, because they know the emotions that are tied to it. Right. Today's feminists say we don't need men, hate men, blah blah, they're useless. But men will say, oh no, we need women. We love women, right? Mm-hmm. Another thing that's happening with today's feminism is our population. It's declining. Right? Why? Because of we're going to work. We're going to do this. We're going to, that's equal rights, blah, blah. Hey, man, no one says you can't work or you shouldn't work or whatever the case is. But, and trust me, I'm not saying that you should stay home and watch kids, but the priority of a family, of a nuclear family, of a well-raised family where you're not having issues with your kids is one that you have an equal balance at home. There has to be a balance in life, right? Yeah. People always tell you have to have a work-life balance, and you never get it, right? You don't. Because as a man, I'll stay and work 12, 16 hours if I need to, because I know that at the end of the day, I'm raising a family and I have to provide. A woman won't do that. Not that she can't, and it's not that some won't, some will, some have, but their concern is different than ours. Right? A man will go to the grave working his behind off. Yeah. Right? Where a woman's like, oh no, that's too much. Yeah, are you paying me enough? A man that pays kind of like the last thing they look at. They're looking for job security. They're looking for longevity in their job. They figure that money's going to come, and if it's not there, you know what they do? They get a second job. Yeah. You know what I mean? And today's feminism is just so anti-male. So they're just hate men, and that's not.
Well, they've coined the phrase toxic masculinity. So
I thought you were gonna say toxic Mexican. I'm like, what do we have to do with that?
Just because it starts with an M.
But what they're doing. They're emasculating men. Is what they're doing. They're just taking away. They're adding phrases, and this was something that was coined up by psychiatrists. I think the toxic masculinity. Because there's no such thing, right? It's either you're a toxic person or you're not.
Because you can be a toxic feminine,
Right.
but
But all you're
But
saying
I
about
wouldn't-
masculinity is that you're a male, you're masculine, right? Or feminist.
you're toxic. Listen, ladies, have you ever known another female friend that was toxic?
They all their friends are toxic, bro. That's how they're like this. Hey, girlfriend, and then they go home like, oh, Sally was such a bitch today. You know what I mean? Y'all toxic.
Well, here's a little,
Or how we say it in Spanish, las tóxicas.
So here's a little piece of ditty here for you. So they done studies on young.
Did women do these studies?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I know one was done by.
Just kidding. I love you.
Gosh, I think it was Harvard. Anyways.
Oh yeah, women.
That they took these little infant girls and little infant boys, and they put a barrier between themselves.
Oh yeah, I heard this. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Between themselves and the mother, and the little boys would try to like climb over it, try to move stuff, get around, blah blah blah. And the little girls would start. What would they do?
Cry.
They'd
They
start
stopped.
crying.
They stopped and cried.
They'd would stop and cry. So these base and so this has nothing to do with any kind of social. People are like, it's a social construct.
No,
this has
they're
nothing.
babies.
This is a natural, thing that we have in our brains, and the way we are wired different between men and women. And there's nothing wrong with either one of those cases.
One was made as a companion for the other. Let's just I'm gonna throw a little Christianity in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't forget, you were my spare rib.
I want my rib back.
I want my
all you
rib back.
feminists. No, but so that right there is like the pure essence of who we are, as men and women as we grow up. Now, do social things change our minds and make us feel different about stuff? Absolutely, depending on the environment that you're raised in. But that really takes you back down to a basic core essence of who we are, and that women are more nurturing, than
They
men.
are, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with
there's
that.
not.
Absolutely, no,
Man,
and it has to, like I said, you know how we have to balance, like we said that earlier, work-life balance. There's home balance too. At home, there has to be a balance. Could you imagine? Because this is something I talked to my ex-wife about. Was like, hey, I have to be the discipliner. I'm the mean guy. You can't be that person because then our kids will have no one to turn to. Right. So as much as you want to yell at them, don't because that's my job. Right. And so could you imagine if both of us were that? The kids would be crazy. The kids would be like. You know what I mean? Stressed out.
And that's such a great example. So here's another little statistical thing. And this you don't even have to look up. I mean, you can just look around society and in general. So communities that are mainly father and mother based, nuclear family, and the mother staying at home raising the kids, those parts of society, communities are doing. How do you think they're doing better or worse than the rest of society?
Way better.
They are doing way better. And then the parts of society that usually the dad's missing or not around, or
there's a breakdown in the community. There's a breakdown in society.
That's right. And that's and again, this has nothing to do with anything other than the natural laws of how a basic family unit should be created. Now, yes, people get divorced, people split up, that kind of stuff happens, right? And there's sometimes it can't be helped, right? And that's we say we're Christians and we believe in the nuclear family and all this kind of stuff. Guess what? They had people split up back in biblical times too, So
they also had like 4 wives, so
well, the thing is the big key to a lot of this is the community. There was a saying, when it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a reason for that, is because your village or your community or your group of people that you
they share the same core values.
They have the same core values. So the school that your kids went to, the church you went to,
not no more,
and the family that was, and that's the other thing. It was usually smaller communities. So the aunt and uncle were just right down the road. Now. We live here. We've got family in this state. We got
I
friends and family
used to run
in other
away
states.
from home. When my dad would yell at me or whoop my butt, I'd run away. I went to my grandma's house across the street.
Down,
I'm like, yeah, I'm gone. I'm hitting the road.
Hitting
you
the
won't
road.
see me again.
you got your little pack
Yeah,
on.
dude. It was like a little hobo pack.
The
It was
little
so fun. Yeah. I don't know where I got that idea from. But you're 100%.
The media.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny at
Bugs
the
Bunny.
time.
Ah, yeah, it's fun. Anyway, things have changed so much. So again, today's feminism is more in line with the views of the LGBTQ RX community than anything else, right? They're so disconnected, you know. But yeah, times do change, right? And I agree, times change in society. We move forward. We try not to egress, but we clearly don't do that well either. But and we understand there's certain changes. Women don't want to be stuck at home sometimes. They want to go work. And I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, go out there, make a career, things like that. But at the end of the day, we have to know what's most important, right? Sometimes we learn that the hard way, right? Look at our society today. It's gone to the wayside. Why?
Yeah.
Because we lost that nuclear family. We lost that mother that's at home raising those children to ensure that they have embedded in them some core values, right? It's gone. That's out the window. That's all these kids are. They talk back to adults. They rush in through a door. Don't hold the door open for anybody. We've lost so much behind that. Women are valuable. They're more valuable at home than they are at a workplace. And let me say that again. They are more valuable at home than they are in a workplace. Not because their value at a workplace isn't great. It is. It's great. The more help, the better. Women are intelligent, but we need that intelligence at home. Not because we want to lock them down and nothing like that, but when you have a good home, a nice squared away home, the kids are raised right. The kids are happy. They don't end up being serial killers or chopping up people or shooting up schools, right? The dad is happy, right? Because he has everything that he's working for is at home when he comes there. It's all there, right? And does that mean, hey, you as a mom, you're a stay-at-home mom, you can't go out with your friends and drink, or you can't go out? No, it means absolutely none of that is true, right? It just didn't happen back in the early 1900s because it's not what they did. Dad would be in the porch with his pipe, smoking, and reading the newspaper, right? Yeah. And mom would be in the kitchen with her Pall Malls or her, whatever, smoking.
I remember those.
But it's changed so much. People want to change things because they want change. They don't want to see, like there's that saying, if it works, why mess with it? You know what I mean? And it's worked so well that people fear that. They're like, oh, no, that's not the way it is now. And they want to change the basics. So, and I think you and I have talked about this before, like in business, when you change things, you're always trying to change, make better moves, make better strategic plans. But when they don't go your way, they don't happen to flex the way you wanted to. What do you say? Let's go back to basics.
Back to basics.
Right?
Yep.
We start back at the bottom.
Yep.
That's where we're at right now. Women hate men so much that our population is decreasing. Crime has increased, right? Single parent homes are everywhere. They're prevalent everywhere now. There's like nothing that shows a nuclear family. Those that are together are doing great, right?
Well, one of the things that bugs me about the feminist movement would be the hypocrisy on, parts of it. So the good part would be, let's get women this independence so they can go out in the workforce and everything. And that's a whole nother thing too, is why was it such a big push to get women out into the workforce?
Pay more taxes.
Well, yeah, pay more taxes.
So could you imagine?
We need more workers.
It's me and Jay, right? We're together, right? And he works.
Oh boy,
he works, and I'm gonna stay at home. I'm gonna stay at home. What am I?
I want to hear this.
I'm gonna stay at home mom. Hey, and Jay's working. Jay's money's getting taxed, right? So Uncle Sam's taking his money. But what if these guys in Washington say, hey, man, how can we get more money out of the American people? We clearly can't tax them more because they're going to have no money left. Hey, let's start a movement. Let's get women to work. How about that? Now you got,
on the taxes,
a single family unit paying twice as much of taxes. Think about that. And who raises those kids?
The government does.
Rockefeller.
Yeah, in their schools.
In the schools,
Ooh.
right? What are they teaching them in schools? More taxpayers. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Get out there and work.
Get out there and work. They're teaching you how to be more manual laborers.
Go to college.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Get stuck because now
You should
you're
go to
forced.
college and-
now you're forced to have to work, right? Because now you have bills to pay.
Yeah.
Right. You have a loan to pay back.
Yeah, you're already a kid getting out of school that should be starting fresh, and you already have loans from a college. You know what's funny is people getting out of trade schools. So, like where we live at, if you would combine either one of these two, so electrician and AC or plumbing and pools, you will make more than just about any kid coming out with a bachelor's degree out of a school.
And you're going to get a job, and you're not going to have anything to pay back.
That's right. Yeah, because
these kids with degrees are working at McDonald's because they can't find a job.
Right, because everybody went and took the same, liberal arts class. So
No, you didn't. That's funny.
Women nowadays are outpacing men in bachelor's degrees. So if there is such a disparity with everything, why is it that women are smart? They can do as much, if not more, than men can in a lot of areas. Kind of going back.
My ex-wife, she was a stay-at-home mom, but she ran at home. Like I just brought the money in, and she managed it. She,
Right. And there's a lot of nuclear families that do it that way. That actually,
how much stress that relieves you from. Like, hey, here's the money, pay the bills, and everything's done. You know what I mean?
And the thing is for the couple to have that much trust amongst each other, what does that create? It creates a better,
Yeah, it does.
better togetherness.
That's why we are divorced now. No, really, you know what? We're better together now as being divorced than when we were married.
And states apart. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just safer that way.
I can't stand.
It's just safer that way. There's still that 500
Yeah,
yards.
she's got those iron chunklas that she'll chunk at you.
And she's got a good aim, boy, let me tell you. She likes you though.
Man, I miss those sopes, dude. Oof.
I'm gonna tell her to make you some.
Yeah. FedEx them. I'll pay the overnight fees.
But you're absolutely right. Today's feminist is more of a hate club for men than it is about feminism. And the reality of things is the word itself is not even fitting anymore because they're not fighting about anything for feminine. For women, I can't even say the words right, but they're not doing nothing for women. They're doing, it's more of a selfish kind of thing. Like it's not about equality. It's not about anything. It's just
the original back in the 1850s, the way they started that. And, look that up. There was like 300 men and women, and key point, men were in there, right? That went to this deal to fight for equality for women. Now, I'm not, not going to get all conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I bet a few of those men in there were kind of plans to get,
I'm sure Rockefeller sent them.
Yeah. I mean, so what happened as soon as women, started working? Well, all these factories started filling up with women sewing and stuff like that. So for you ladies out there that are like, yeah, women need to be empowered and everything. Well, your first empowerment was instead of sewing clothes for your kids at home was to be sewing for some factory somewhere.
And now some little Asian kids doing it because now you don't even have that. So how well did that go? You know what I mean? Seriously.
Yeah.
We don't have none of that now.
It's actually India or Pakistan more likely. But,
Indonesia. Yeah. But you're right though. All that it was like for nothing. Like they got their vote. They got their voting rights. They got their, everything that works the same. So, but think about it. People say, well, there's still little change. There is, because women have more issues than men, physically, right? Emotionally, they're a little bit more emotional. You yell at a guy at work because he didn't meet a deadline. The guy's gonna like, oh, what a douche, and walk away. Right.
Yeah.
You yell at a girl at workplace, she's gonna start crying, and she's gonna, it's just a lot of emotion behind it, right? Women, if they have kids, something happens, they got to take off, right? Men, they stay there. They're working through.
Well, now they've changed that whole thing where men get, which I don't know if I agree with it, but men get the.
Those are not men.
Those are not men.
Those are not men.
I need my wife's pregnancy time off. Yeah. It's like, are you kidding me?
You know what? In my last job, they had that. I'm like, wait a minute, you get maternity leave? He goes, oh yeah, we share it. I'm like, what
No.
are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, first off, when I had my kid, not me, but when my ex had they're my kids, but I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, when she's at home, all she did
You
was,
had a really small part.
I have a very small part. She called me and was like, I think I'm gonna have a baby. So I'd leave work, go take her, right? Stay there, give birth, cut the umbilical cord. I did my job,
Yeah.
right?
The important stuff.
Stuff, right? I spent the night there. I had my other boys when I had my other boys that we were there and everything like that. Boom, mother-in-law came. You got the boys? Yep. I went to work. Her mom was there.
Yeah.
Like, what emotional support
Again,
can I give her?
it takes a village.
Right.
Right.
And
So-
and then my kids were there. My kids were well behaved, so they were fine. But now my mother-in-law would order, and plus my ex was busy with the baby. What am I going to be doing there, just standing there watching?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I have to go and make money to support these creatures. And so that was my job. So I went back, and she was like, she never had a problem with it. Like, we even tried that whole white thing. Like, we went to a Lamaze class and whatnot. It was so much
White
fun.
thing.
Yeah, we don't do that. Mexicans don't do that, bro. Mexicans don't go like, no, they're like, shut up. You know what I mean? But I was there. Like, I remember my first kid, I was just shocked. I didn't know what to do, bro. She yelled it, and she didn't, and she cried it, and she yelled. And I'm like,
This is your fault.
yeah. So then I hung out with the doctor. I went down there, and I'm like, well, it's better up here. So I went back over there. But you're right. There was so there's that. And you're right. They do have it for men. That's so sad. But the women have more. I don't want to say reasons, but women are women. Women have things that men don't have that needs attention, that needs attending to. There's a lot of things going on.
Well, again, that goes back to that whole going off to war thing. Like you'd shown the example. A guy watches his buddy die, and he's going to be bummed, but it's also going to like anger him and empower him to move on and move forward. Where if he sees a girl in the platoon,
women make men weak.
Man, yeah.
Women make men weak, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, we have fought wars over one woman.
Yeah,
think about that. So men have not fought wars over just one other man, kind of thing. So I mean, there's a big deal with that. So.
Well, think about it. Going back to World War I, World War II, and probably the wars before that. What is the one thing that kept soldiers in the battlefield going? The pictures of their girls.
Oh yeah, to be able to go back home.
They would have their pictures of the women in their helmet. They'd have them in their pockets, and that's what drove them to want to fight to get that liberation. Because the quicker they were done there, the quicker they get back home. Right. So to us, and I just want to stress this out. To us, we hold women ourselves in a very high position. Women.
Absolutely.
Women are the only creature on this earth in the Homo sapiens, right, that is able to reproduce, to create another human life, and that's important. Like no one could do that. Like no man could do that, right? And that's amazing that they could grow another little creature inside of them, right? And just for a man, that's something you got to protect. Right.
Absolutely.
Today's feminism is they're eradicating men altogether. Like we don't need men. Of course you need men just as much as we need women.
Yeah.
We can't live in a society where it's one-sided or not. Like what was that one saying that you put one man in an island full of women, you're going to have a very high population. Where you put all men and no women, they're going to be dead. Because they're not going to reproduce. They're going to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Or all women with no men.
Yeah. All women, no men. There's no way you need one another.
Yeah.
Right? And I think in life, as in a workplace, everyone has a role in life. Right? And I don't think being a stay-at-home mom or a part-time stay-at-home mom is a bad thing.
Not at all.
I don't think that makes you a weak woman.
No.
Right? I think, in fact, that you have a woman that stays home, and I thank my ex for this because I have great kids, but she kept that. She was the glue in that house. Like she kept order in that house, right? Everything was done. I didn't have to worry about my kids. The only thing if I had to discipline them, right? They're kids, so they're gonna do stupid things,
Didn't we all?
Didn't we all? So like that was like the biggest, and listening to what I'm going to say, women, this is very important. That was the biggest help that I could ever get, is that stress free of worrying from anything from home.
Right.
My kids, my home, everything. That my only stress was work. Make sure I get my job done, focus on my job, you know, and try to be successful, move up, promote, you know, what men like to do, right? All I had to worry about is on my days off is cut the grass, clean the garage, whatever, you know, man stuff, right? Change a tire or rotate a tire, whatever the case is. But the woman, and I think women today don't give women of the past credit for how strong they were, because they kept. Look at your mom. Yeah. Right? Another perfect example, right? Strong. I remember being in India and driving by. I'm like, she cutting the grass?
Oh, yeah.
She cutting the grass, pushing that mower. I'm like, oh, dear. Where's Jay at? But you know, the women are strong. Women are resilient, bro. Yeah. You know, they can, man, they're popping kids out. I almost fainted just watching that happen. You know what I mean? And so they're in a special class, and I think that, and I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, that you guys are the glue that keeps a home together. You keep that nuclear family together. I don't know what that thing is called outside the nucleus, but whatever that plasma thing is, whatever that is, that's what you are. You guys keep it from blowing up.
Took that way back.
I know. You guys prevent that separation. You keep it together, and that's important, because that keeps a balance at home, to where the man has less stress, the mom has less stress, because she knows, like, hey, I got a credit card, and I know that there's money there, and I'm going to use it for what I need. You don't have to worry about stressing out, things like that. And you know what? You don't have to worry about the stress of work, you know, because it's bad enough that men have to deal with that. Now women, right? And could you imagine? You have a household of two professionals coming home. That's why divorce is so high. Yeah. They're going to kill each other. Right. You know, one's going to try to well, I'm stressed more than you are. Well, in my job, this happened. You know, it's a competition. Yeah. Where it should never be. Right. That's a big part of it, is that now it's become where we're masculating women. And the last thing a man wants to do, men have a competitive spirit, right? By far. Huge competitive spirit. So why are you making a man try to compete against his wife? You know, that's crazy. We're fixers and builders. Women are more nurturing and everything. Mm-hmm. And you know, if the feminist movement really cared about women, right, they wouldn't make fun of or degrade women that decide to stay home and raise children and be part of a nuclear family. That's number one. And number two, it's a sorry feminist if you tell me if they're making fun. They do. No. They do. And number two is, you are a horrible feminist if you say that, well, it's okay if Bobby calls himself Chrissy and he can compete in girls' sports. I'm sorry. You're a terrible feminist. You went there. I did. I did. Well, I think in order to be a feminist, you can't have balls. So that's just me, though. Yeah. Well, on that note, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Jay, and that's Joe. And yeah, that too. And this has been Joe and Jay Outspoken. Yeah, if you want to check us out there, you can go to linktree/Joe and Jay Outspoken for all of our social media channels and all that kind of good stuff. So, follow, like, subscribe. Yeah. Give us a thumbs up, and, subscribe so you can get those notifications that whenever we post a new episode, which when do we do this? Every Tuesday. And make sure you join us mid-month Wednesdays for our Outspoken Man's Edition. Yeah. Coming up some real good stuff. It's getting really good. So make sure you follow us for that. Yep. So remember, everybody, be good to one another. And remember to do better and be better. And as always, God bless America. We'll see ya. See ya.